The following program is rated TVMA. This program may contain strong opinions, explicit language, and possible adult themes. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the Smoke Free Radio Network or its affiliates. This program is meant for mature adult audience. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to the Smoke Free Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first show for Rewind. This is the show that is there and out there for the times that I cannot catch people on a Thursday night at 7 p.m. because their schedule is just all kinds of whacked out. And tonight is one of those nights. Now, it's late at night here in Ohio, and it's still kind of early, but the guest that I have this evening, I was just chatting with him, and it turned around, he goes, well, why don't we record this? And I'm like, awesome, and I just went to town. So this evening, late at night, I have Mr. Fig Ramsey coming off of the West Coast, and it is just amazing to have him here. Now, we're going to catch you in just a little bit of audio, but sit back and check this out because it's Fig. All right, I'll edit the piss out of that.
We missed the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, we missed the first couple of minutes. See, this is what happens. I had that USB audio problem, and it turned everything into just a pile of shit. But we got it working fine now. We're good to go. Because I'll just take that first 10 minutes and go, and it'll be gone. Nobody will ever fucking know.
So do we start from the top?
We're good. Listen, you, and I will start from this point and say, this is Fig Ramsey. He is out on the West Coast. This is the reason that Rewind exists, is so that I can catch up with people just like him on their time frame, their schedule, because right now it's like 12:30 at night, East Coast time, and it's just now 9:30 for Fig. So this is just awesome. It's seriously awesome. I've wanted to have you on a show, be either vaping in the mic or something, and it's always been one of those classic, our schedules don't match, because it's late at night here, or it's too early there, or 7 o'clock my time is what, 4 o'clock your time? You're busier than shit at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, man. Tell me a couple things.
I mean, look, as we were speaking earlier, like the fact is, I mean, we wear a lot of different hats, in this modern era. Just your average Joe wears a lot of hats. Your average Joe may have, 2-3 jobs, but, when you talk about being a stakeholder in an industry that is literally under forced regulatory sell-off, we wear a lot more hats. We're trying to not only do our part to protect, but we're also doing our best to help influence others to do their part. The fact is, one of the most difficult things for me to consider is how many of our brethren or sisters that have just given up and said, I'm going to do what I can while I can until it's done.
I just saw that.
Fuck that.
I just saw that the other day, that there was a guy that had a juice line for 3.5 years, and he said, you know what? I'm done. And I'm like, Oh my God. And I know that Kevin Price was another one of them. And he said he's slowly weaning down to where he's just going to stop because of all the heavy regulation, all the hoops and the crap that you have to jump through just to stay in business. He said he was done. And how many, you know much better than I do, how many advocates have been in the game, doing the job, out there, hitting it hard, and in the last year went, I'm done. I'm out of here. Would you?
Well, look, Mike, you jumped right into the hoopla with including activists and advocates. Hey, here's the thing. We have this ostrich phenomena that's happening. We have salesmen and women and plenty of folks that want to pretend that like nothing is amiss, nothing is a foul. Business as usual. We've got until 2022, and then Gottlieb's going to give us an extension. But the fact is, what we're dealing with is people don't want to recognize that there's a need for advocacy. That there's a need to fund the future.
Absolutely, there is.
But folks don't want to recognize that because look, you can't talk about protecting the future at the same time that you're selling product. It is physically impossible to do those two things at the same time. I can talk to you right now about selling you product, but while I'm talking to you about selling product, I cannot physically talk to you about anything other than what I'm saying to you right at this very moment. And so, our sales force, they stay on point.
Right.
They do not want you. How do you survive personally? And if you're a vape shop, so long as you are thinking about the realities of owning a business, the realities of being in a commercial lease, the realities of being in contracts.
You're too worried about staying afloat.
You're not really thinking about buying product from that hip, cool salesman. So the majority of folks out there, they're not really thinking about talking to you as a shop owner or as a consumer about the realities of our demise.
No, they're, as you said, they're just there trying to say, here's what I'm doing to stay afloat from day to day to day to day.
Well, what a lot of them are talking about is, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to the basics. What's going to pay your bills? What's going to put you in that new car? Let's get back to the basics.
Back to the basics. If it's vaping, it's converting smokers.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Yep. Because otherwise and I know there are a lot of shops out there that are catering more just to new hardware, to current vapors, here's the latest, greatest, whatever. And they've forgotten about their base customers of what's going to continue to drive their shop. I'm running into more and more here and there that are saying we need to convert smokers. And there are some stores that I'm looking at that are saying, hey, our sales have dried up. We need to go back to basics and convert smokers. But some of them just, I don't know. And I don't know that they're ever really going to stay in business. They're the ones that you mentioned a little bit earlier that are just there to make a buck. They're not there to do much more than that. And that's a shame.
So sometimes I ponder of what the actual timeline is for your average vapor before they move on. One of the things that I cause folks to raise an eyebrow about is when I say I'm still addicted to cigarettes. I still crave cigarettes. I don't smoke.
Right.
But I crave cigarettes. And if this thing went away tomorrow,
very
Tuesday
much.
I'd have a pack of smokes.
Yep. Drive right down to the local gas station, pick up a pack of Marlboro or whatever.
I can be out my door and in a gas station within 2 minutes with a fresh pack of smokes. And I'd be happy.
Do you know, there's probably quite a few vapors that would say the same thing. Vaping products went away. They would return to smoking. Dr. Farsalinos had said much the same thing when he did his study. That just, if this product comes to a complete stop, we have a problem because there's going to be a huge uptick in smoking, which makes me wonder with the FDA, is that not their goal?
I think it is. And one of the things that folks aren't thinking about is, in addition to smokers coming to vaping, there are, I don't know what the number is, but there is a number of folks that they were former smokers that would never return to smoking, but maybe they're stressed and they say, I haven't smoked a cigarette in 20 years, but this vaping thing.
Yep, they'd go back to it. Sure they would. And
I know several folks that, they haven't smoked cigarettes for 20 years and they had quit. But they turned to vaping because they saw it as less harm, no big deal.
It gives them their nicotine that they're looking for.
That's right. Well, and I know people that are diabetic that started vaping because they could get sweets. Now let's say that vaping completely went away. And now these people, they've been placated by nicotine, and nicotine has an effect on our mind, on our body.
Sure it does. In that, I've heard and I've read it is much in the same category as caffeine.
Nicotine is a drug.
It is.
And it hits our brain, and it makes our brains happy. And so this thing goes away. Suddenly we have a whole bunch of people that
are not happy.
They don't want to do without their nicotine.
We're going to be screwed. Now, that brings me right up to a couple of questions. For the people that don't know, when, and I know that it changed names, but I don't remember exactly when did you start the idea and process that became vape tithing? You started it as Gonzo Gives, correct?
So as Gonzo Gives, that is correct. This goes back a ways. And here in California, we've been fighting. We've been fighting for a long time. Like within just a few months of us coming into the industry back in 2013, hit the ground running with fighting. November of 2016, Prop 56 happened. 65% vape tax.
God.
You know, it hit me pretty hard. Now, at that time, you know, we weren't really concentrated outside of California. Most of our customers were within California. You know, so like we had a customer in Alabama, we had one customer in Tennessee, we had one customer in, you know, just a couple of different states, right? Well, it really bothered me that, you know, we had one customer here or there, but it really wasn't enough money, enough revenues coming in to justify financially a recurring membership of the state group.
I know how that goes.
So, I mean, like Alabama, for instance, at that time we were averaging, you know, sales of like $200 a month. You know, when you back out your cost of operations, paying $100 a month for a recurring membership, it just does not make sense.
No, it puts you underwater pretty damn quick.
Yeah, so, you know, especially when you talk about multiple states, you know, same situation. Like Virginia, we have one retail customer would buy one bottle of Duke a month. You know, there's not $100 there to, like, you know, to join. So we did come up with a percentage-based concept.
Now, I remember when you did that. And for people that don't know, I'm going to stop just for a second and give a little bit of background information. I met Fig when the Pennsylvania State Vaping Association was running into a problem. And they were looking for income donations, things like that. And out of the blue, I don't know how, but out of the blue, I caught a post that you did that you were sending some juice, Advocatin, and a few other things. And I'm like, wait, we can send juice for them to be able to either sell or do something with, and that will help them? So I got in touch with you, and you said, well, hell yeah, that'll help. And that's where that started. And then when you turn around and you started the Gonzo Gives in a percentage, I'm like, I need to do the damn same thing with our company. And I got in touch with you, and we talked about it. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be stepping on coattails, that I wasn't going to be causing a problem. Now, for folks that don't know Fig, I'm sitting here in Ohio going, well, shit, I would really like to do this, but I don't want to be seen as trying to do something like Fig simply to look like Fig or to... So when I got in touch with them, and I said, would you mind... The first response that I got from him was, why the hell would you not do that? Of course do that. I was floored, absolutely floored. You know, your response was very unexpected to me. And not only kind and polite, but then we spent another hour talking on the phone about things to look for, things to do, checklist. I mean, it was like, oh my God, information overload. So that was the very beginning with you, with Gonzo Gives. And that was a year and a few months ago, if I remember.
Well, so we... You know, my wife teased me because the way we launched it is we wrote an article first, and we published 2 pages of text in the Vaping Advocate in August of 2017.
Yep.
And it was our manifesto, if you will.
I remember.
It pretty much says, you know, hey, look, we are fucked if we don't address these things. And even those of us that are tiny, and look, I know that people think that we're this large company. We're not. We're tiny. Oh my God, we're tiny.
Now, for
We're
people
so
that don't know,
tiny.
how big is your shop?
Well, our retail is 400 square feet.
And folks that don't know square footage, that's really tiny.
It's 20 by 20. 20 feet by 20 feet.
That's just amazing. I mean, 100% amazing.
And as far as our companies go, it is my wife, myself, one full-time employee, and one part-time employee.
Wow. Now, when did it morph into? Okay, in between the change of names, and I'm trying to remember, in between the change of name, you did.
So I can give you the breakdown. So we started off with Gonzo because Gonzo only has 3 flavors, and it had a catchy ring to it. So we're like, well, we're gonna test the waters here and see how this goes. And literally within a month, we had over 10 affiliates, and then in September, we from Naked 100 sends me a note and says, "Hey, can we talk?" And he'd seen a couple of my videos, he'd seen the map, and he's like, I can see that you are about the vape shop.
100% you are.
And that first phone call, it started off about 9, 10 o'clock at night, and we went until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
And I mean, this is our first conversation. And from there, we'll try not to get emotional here, but there were some fantastic things that started with that conversation. Within a week, we come up with the manufacturer's challenge. Within 2 weeks, we come up with Vapesgiving.
And I remember that, and that was huge.
And so between September and December, we went from 10 or so advocacy affiliates. That's what we call the advocacy groups in our program. Went from 10 or so up to 21. And Naked sponsored our first annual Vapesgiving. They put up $190,000.
Whoa.
Throughout November, December, my staff and I, we probably put in 500 hours in the Vapesgiving. In that same time, we bought a T-shirt printing machine and accoutrement. Sent out probably 1,000 T-shirts that month.
In 1 month?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We've sent out over 5,000 shirts in the past year. Most of them free of charge.
Holy shit, Fig.
Most of them free of charge.
I'm That's huge.
Yeah, we've probably sold 100 shirts.
Oh my God. Okay, and now it begs the question, where the hell did all those shirts go?
Hopefully on the to the backs of loving, kind humans that were influenced to do something.
Vape shops, TSFA, Florida State, things like that.
Yeah, so anytime I go to like a conference, I would take 50, 100 shirts. Like, you mentioned TSFA, like there in December, I flew out to their annual conference last year. And I took 50 shirts and I passed them out, the Fund the Future shirts with TSFA in the back.
Yep.
Virginia actually got the Lungs Matter shirts.
I remember that. Those are some awesome looking shirts.
So, with Vapesgiving, it's a really special thing because of a number of things, but the most touching thing for me, quite frankly, is that it wasn't since dimming regs hit that our shop owners and consumers had a lot of hope. And so over that period that we were doing the fundraiser, there was a manufacturer's challenge. You know, I received hundreds and hundreds of messages from shop owners and consumers saying, oh my God, this is so exciting and so wonderful to see manufacturers participating. Now, we would all like to think that that should be the norm, but when deeming regs hit, what happened was immediately, and it wasn't a delayed reaction, it was immediate. The bulk of manufacturers disappeared. They were like, fuck.
How do you mean disappeared?
The U.S. market is dead. I've got to find markets outside of the U.S., and I've got to get into my lab and formulate as many recipes as I possibly can before August 8th. So if you go back to social media, the summer of 2016, go back. Look at your favorite manufacturers and see how much activity is on the social media pages. And so since then, until the extensions started happening, most manufacturers were non-existent.
No, there's been a lot of manufacturers that have joined the fray, so to speak, after a predicate date. And
I know this is not a popular topic, but, you know, to bring it back to Vapesgiving, like the messages that I was receiving, shop owners were ecstatic when their favorite juice company or their favorite hardware company made a donation. You know, it was like, it was triumphant for them. It was like they looked on their shelves like, I'm not alone.
Yep. Remember?
And that's really important to have hope. To have hope that we can survive. It really harkens to that one statement, I'm not alone.
That's a huge thing, and I would agree, because a lot of shops look at and say, you know, I'm over here or I'm over there all by myself. And it's most shops in my area, shops talk with each other, but I'm not going to say they always get along. You know, they're in competition with each other, whatever. And so it becomes this, you know, I'm an island in the middle of the ocean by myself. And you're right. And they look at things and say, the FDA is coming after us. What am I going to do? And there's a lot of fear.
Understand. I mean, just, you know, sorry to cut you off there, bro, but, you know, understand this. To be a retailer is damned difficult. It's a tough road to sow, especially when you're open 7 days a week. And especially the Midwest shops that are open from 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m. That's a damn tough job.
Yeah, when you're slinging stuff every day. You're on your feet on the go.
And then you have these, you know, you have all the weight on your shoulders. I mean, look at the memes. Support shops that advocate. You know, I mean, like, it's kind of apropos that, like, you know, I was wearing this shirt when you called me.
Yep.
And we came up with this, you know, support manufacturers that promote and support advocacy. Because it shouldn't just be on the backs of shops. We need to share it.
And until that really came along, I know that the term advocacy then, in 2016 and early 2017, did not have the connotation that it does now. When you said advocacy, okay, let's round up a group of people and sign some petitions and send these in, or fight taxation, or call congressmen, let's get a phone bank running. Now it is due, and it's coming right to a point of saying advocacy now includes this, because the shops can't afford everything that they need to do all the time.
So 2016, I'll take you back to 2015. December of 2015, I keep pretty meticulous records, or sales records.
Mm-hmm.
December 2015 was the defining moment for us. Our sales dropped 20%.
No shit.
That was in 1 month.
Oh my God.
And literally the first week of January, I called a meeting with my wife and said, we need to start talking. What is our threshold? That was January 2016.
Wow.
So according to my P&L, my charts, my spreadsheets, that was the month that the internet took over, or began to take over.
Online sales.
That's correct.
Wow.
December of 2015, and by the summer of 2016, we had dropped 30, almost 40%. Now, here's the tough part. I was against online sales with our company from the get-go. My wife, she put her foot on the rock. She says, no, we're going to do this because we have we're in an area, let me take a little sidebar, a sidestep rather. 85% of our business is military. We set up shop close to the military base here in Oceanside, California.
Mm-hmm.
The bulk of our customers are military.
Really?
Military folks come from rural areas. Now, this is something I didn't see. I've got to give props to my wife because she did see it, that they come to our retail, they become family, they like what we do. Well, then they go back to Idaho. Then they go back to Wyoming or Utah, or not Utah so much, but they go to these rural areas where there is no vape shop.
Yep, Wyoming, Dakotas.
Yeah, and it took me a little while to get what she was doing. But the transition that happened in the end of 2015 was that our online sales started going up, while our retail sales started going down.
Oh, wow.
And it was weird that, we started seeing sales. Up until then, our sales were mostly our customers that we met physically at the physical location. But then we started seeing sales from people that we didn't know. And over the past 2 years, our online sales have surpassed our retail sales.
No shit.
2 to 1. 2 to 1.
Wow.
And so, and I have my own suspicions about various parts of that. One of which I think is that vape shaming has taken place. There are people that want to vape, but they don't want people to know they vape.
Right.
So they shop online.
Which is kind of a shame, but I'm not against online sales. I'm against online sales of the guys that are creating an issue because they want to sell by mass volume. And so they say, all right, this bottle that you're picking up for $22 in the store, and we're going to sell it to you for $11. And consumers are going to look at this and say, I can save money by shopping online. It's a known fact. And yet, I've had many people, and the biggest ones that have pointed out to me, go ahead and buy your stuff online. And then, when you need your coil, when you need your new mod, when your tank breaks, and your store that is local to you is no longer in business, good luck getting your consumables. And there are a lot of people that just don't get that.
Well, so first and foremost, I mean, like, yeah, look, we're in modern times, and there are a multitude of studies that relate that if someone is not directly involved in pressing the button of paying on others, they don't care.
That's unfortunately extremely true.
So, and the vast majority of vapors, they can't, let's face it, they can't even conceptualize that they're technically, per the FDA, smoking.
Right.
Much less conceive that the government would want to shut down vaping. So they're not putting much thought into what it means to lose that local vape shop. They're not putting thought into the notion that the government could, with the push of a button, shut down online sales.
See, I've heard that they would actually have to go through a regulatory process to do that. And I don't know how true that is.
It wouldn't be that tough, though.
Probably not.
It wouldn't be that tough. But
I think I even got into this with Patrick last night because he said where he's at, he could buy tobacco, wine, beer, whatever, and have it delivered to his home. And I'm like, okay, dude, that's great, but it's state by state.
There are many states that have already banned that.
Yeah. And I have a feeling that's coming even further around in this direction.
Well, look, there are many parts of my personal beliefs and values that get challenged when we get into these conversations. First and foremost, when we talk about what we do to protect vapor, I don't do what I do to protect my business. Now, anybody that pays attention to what I say and do probably knows that I'm not spending a lot of time promoting my own companies.
I would agree. Everything that I watch about you, it's always talking about advocacy, vape tithing, helping getting other places getting their stuff together. It's always been that way. Very seldom do I see you talking about your own personal line of products, and I'm kind of the same way. Shift the focus where it should be. That's
I want to see the technology survive.
And that's a big thing.
There are 1 million people worldwide plus that die every year from smoking. Half of that is here in America.
Right.
It's a Jonas Salk moment that we have. We could save lives.
And they talk about a trade-off when they hear the FDA and they say, well, we're going to have to narrow the on-ramp, and their terminology absolutely sucks, number one. Why don't you just come out and say what you mean and say, look, we don't want kids having access to nicotine, so all of you adults, you're screwed because we're going to tighten up how you have access to it.
Yeah, does that not just piss you off, though? How about instead of no access to nicotine, how about just saying no access to cigarettes?
Yeah, they're not doing anything about that.
They're playing a game of chess, and they're wording things very carefully. And it's absolutely laughable that Gottlieb just, 2 weeks ago talked about, well, maybe we should, restrain sales from the C-stores and leave it to the vape shops because they seem to be doing better. In my mind, what that said was, let me signal this to the vape shops so they shut the fuck up and they think that I'm on their side. Because so long as they think I'm on their side, they're not paying attention. And then when I lower the boom...
Yep. And it happened. It happened straight away. I want to talk about that in a couple of minutes, though, because that's like real current kind of stuff. But if you can bear with me for a minute, I'm going to turn around and run our sponsor spot for vaping, for the Smoke-Free Radio Network. Because without our sponsors, we could not do what we do with the Smoke-Free Radio Network. So we'll be right back.
Hey now, this is Dimitri with Smoke Free Radio reminding you to please show some love to our wonderful sponsors. Without them, there would be no Smoke Free Radio, and they are as follows. All the way from Florida, Moon Mountain Vapor, with locations in Florida, and their liquid available for wholesale and retail, moonmountainvapor.com. Some of the best custards and tobaccos on the market from the Brickwills Vaping Company. The lovely Shell with a vapor bar, locations in Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And of course online at thevaporbar.com. And who says you can't have award-winning e-liquid without cartoon characters? That's exactly what you're going to get at theplumeroom.com. And finally, of course, the Vaping Advocate magazine that has generously provided the telephone lines for you to communicate with us. Thank you for your support. And finally, for you, the listener, don't forget to check out the coupons and codes page on Smoke Free Radio. Pick up some e-liquid and save some money. From all of us here at Smoke Free Radio, thank you for your continued support.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to Rewind with Mike Peterson.
And this is the whole reason that we have Rewind going, for this exact kind of thing, because joining me tonight is Fig Ramsey on the West Coast. Now, my clock is telling me it's, even with the time change, it's going for 20 after 1 in the morning. And I know that for us here on the East Coast, this is like late as hell. But this guy not only is a night owl, he's 3 hours behind. So it's kind of like, holy shit. But we've got Fig Ramsey joining us. This is just amazing. And I seriously appreciate you taking time tonight. I know that Earlier on, you had said, I might need a week to kind of cool my jets a little bit because you had some stuff going on. And then all of a sudden he goes, why don't we just record this? And I'm like, well, holy fuck, hold on. Let me set all this shit up. This is awesome.
Well, I think you might be getting a little carried away there, but but I mean, look, earlier today, I was thinking back to some philosophy courses. I was thinking about Aristotle, and that dude was cool as hell. He was cool. He had a very direct way of communicating. It's like, look, I shared a thing tonight on vape tithing that spoke towards being angry. And in a nutshell, it's like, yeah, you can be angry, but it really doesn't fucking matter how angry you are if it's misguided. However, if you can connect your anger with the anger of others and direct that anger in unison, then you might have something.
If you can be angry for the right reason, at the right time, at the right direction, then you can channel that. And I remember that quote because it said, most people can't do that.
So, we talk a lot. And so what I strive to do is be very directed in what we hope to achieve. Now, if you look at just what I talk about, I don't talk about Trump or Clinton or Warren or...
No, you don't get in the political side of things.
I talk about vape. I talk about humans. It's the single most important thing. And it's interesting, when I do get political, I understand I live in California. So there's all kinds of nonsense.
The land of politics. Are you kidding?
And look, I'm a middle-aged guy. I'm college educated. And I'm white. Now, don't get this twisted. Where I'm going with this is simple. I don't have historically cause for pause on human rights personally until vapor comes into play. Vapor as a means of staving off the cigarettes and the attack on vapor as a means of tobacco harm reduction is the very first real time in my life that human rights came into play.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see where that comes from.
I mean, look, I have gay friends, I have female friends, I have plenty of friends that issues that regard human rights come into play. I have friends that are of Middle Eastern descent. I have friends that are of African American descent. I have plenty of friends over the course of my life that human rights really come into play.
Right.
But being who I am, my descent, it wasn't until I quit smoking, using vapor products, and the attack on vapor products to take them away from me, which goes that really strives to take away my choice of less harm, of a healthier lifestyle, do my personal human rights come into play? I hope that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, because what it comes down to in a nutshell is somebody saying, look, here's a deadly product, and you're allowed to have that. But you're not allowed to make a choice to turn around and have something that's healthier for you. We don't want that. You go back to your deadly product. Nope, I get it.
I take umbrage with that, and I stand up against it. I'm a combat vet, and I've served my country. I have a problem with, our government and our groups saying that, I can't have something that's less harmful.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. That's... And a lot of people are not even bothering to view it in that kind of a lens. And here again, last night Patrick and I got into it, not fighting. It just, we said, look, you've got a ton of people that neither smoke nor vape, that don't give a rat's ass about what we have, what we use, and that it might go away. They don't care. But if we could get them to understand, look, the FDA is trying to come in and tell us you're not allowed to make a healthier choice, and it's going to continue and roll around and affect their lifestyle, they might then start to take it, a little bit of more of an interest in it. Maybe.
Well, this is already starting to happen. So here in California, we have, technically speaking, recreational marijuana approved. Well, the same guy that created a lot of meta-analysis to support taxation on vapor products is now going against marijuana. Stanton Lance, he signaled this last year. And so in the cannabis world, they're starting to realize, oh, wait a second, what's going on here? Well, all of these moves are templated.
Right.
They're templated. Folks that aren't paying attention to vaping, they're not seeing the template. It's happening with marijuana. It's happening with vaccinations. It's, happening with water and food.
Yep.
And, the reality is we live in a world of snitches, my friend, where so long as somebody else is paying the bill, most people are okay with it.
As long as it doesn't wind up in my backyard, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I hear that so many times. Well, it doesn't affect me. Why should I care? It doesn't affect me. I'm not paying for that. Yes, they want to raise taxes to get rid of your foul vaping stuff. Then yes, I'll vote for that. A bunch of assholes, because they don't realize what they are doing.
Well, in reality, one of the reasons, I was asked recently, why did you fly to Virginia or Florida or Tennessee or wherever to talk to people about standing up? Well, I live in a state where, let's face it, they've wrecked us.
They bent you guys over and just went to town. Sodomy 101.
With Prop 56, actually, I'll go back a little bit farther. With being defined as tobacco at a state level, we automatically fell into OTP, other tobacco product taxation. That was 27% tax. I'm pretty sure that was the number. But we automatically fall in all the legislation, ordinances, the laws, having to do with tobacco. Technically speaking, we're not supposed to be shipping through USPS.
Right.
We're not technically supposed to be within 1,000 feet of a school. You know, there's a lot of things that we're not supposed to be able to do. Now, we're one of the few states that has been deemed as tobacco at the state level. And so my hope is that other states realize that, wait a second, we really should be stepping up and fighting locally, because locally we have the best chance.
Yeah, once it gets to a state level, you're talking about a whole different ballgame. And to point that out, take a look for people that aren't paying attention or that don't know. Look at the flavor bans that have happened, starting in San Francisco and moving their way around in Sacramento. I don't know where that stands right now, and Hollywood, and God knows where else.
Well, Beverly Hills it just got ran straight through. And the wild thing is Beverly Hills doesn't even have a vape shop. But this stuff, it's going to travel eastward. It's going to travel.
If people are not aware of that, they either live under a rock, they don't care, or they have their heads so far up their ass that it's not even funny. Well, it's going to come this way.
Well, there's an additional option to that, and that is we still want to believe in the system, that the system cares about us. You know, I know, but you know, the vast majority of people, you know, we want to believe in public health. We want to believe in government. We want to believe that our representatives actually care.
They don't.
And I did see your video, and bravo, by the way.
Do you know, honest to God, that video came about because I read a post by Alan Davis. And Alan had pointed out how much money these senators had made from, you know, political donations, an influx of cash. And the minority leader was the worst out of all of them. Okay, Dick Durbin was the guy that really started to sponsor this, but they were quick. Elizabeth Warren, Dick Durbin did it, and the other people that are on there, okay, $750,000, but when you got up to Dick Durbin and then to the Senate Minority Leader, $500,000 from one place, $500,000, $500,000, oh my God. And I read that and I went, you know, classic Facebook. People are going to gloss over this because it doesn't have a shiny picture on it. And I said, we can't have that. And I started putzing around and I started doing things. And honest to God, even Shelley came back and she stopped. She goes, what the hell are you doing? Well, I'm kind of, she goes, you're playing with Photoshop again, aren't you? Yes, love, I am. And I did that, and I put it back, and I asked Alan, I said, do you mind if I use your numbers in part of your post? He goes, dude, have a ball. So I made that so that people would become aware of what the hell is going on. And I'm hoping that some people see it, and it wakes them up. That's my real intent.
So let me say this. Let me provide the flip side. Is $500,000 a lot of money? Yeah, it kind of is. But here's how I look at it. These fucking people have sold out what will be millions of people for only $500,000.
Yeah. I did that show one time.
I look at the numbers, the campaign contributions for the shit that these fucking people sell out the human race for, and it's just vile.
It is. I did a show where I actually made a map when they started doing flavor bans in San Francisco, and it was going to move to other cities. And that's when Dick Durbin first introduced this legislative garbage that he has. And I pointed out, if he gets his way, it's like millions of Americans are going to go back to smoking, and they're going to die. Thanks, Dick Durbin, because by what you're doing, you don't give a shit. You're saying that it's for the kids. Save the kids from the nicotine addiction. Bullshit. Yeah, I can see we can get really riled up about that real quick, huh, Fig?
So what do we do with this? I mean, like, here's one of the things that I think about. The moral fabric of America.
No.
What really is happening? Like, when we go back to Roman times and they talk about, the demise of Rome, the fall of Rome.
Okay.
Now, this might be a little bit, off mark or off topic, but, I think about, like, what are we doing to our society when we actually en masse start seeing our representatives for what they actually are? And when was the last time that you, or if ever, saw millions of people seeing what a representative body is for what they are? I think it was the 60s.
I was going to say, you'd have to go back to Kennedy in order for that to really be true. Yeah. People voted for Reagan because they loved what he was saying. I'm not going to so much say that they loved what he was doing, but they loved what he was saying and how he said it.
He was a great orator.
Exactly. But then you had people, Nixon, President Ford. Ford did some things, short term. Jimmy Carter. Now, Carter accomplished more than history is actually giving him credit for. And then you get into today's.
On both sides of the coin.
Oh, tell me about it. He was no angel by any means.
I remember as a kid waiting in line for gas.
Really?
Yes. I'm older than I look.
I gotta say, you and I aren't that far apart in age.
56.
No shit.
Yeah.
I thought you were a hell of a lot closer to my age of 50. I'll be damned.
1962.
Here's the funny thing.
I'm kidding. I just turned 35.
Oh, with those glasses and the smile and riding around in a car, people might actually believe part of that. It's a funny thing.
Believe all of it.
For people that are listening or people that are watching, I had spoken to Fig and talked with him many times online, but the first time that I got to meet him was in James Jarvis's store at Vapor Station in Columbus, Ohio. Walked in, and I'm, being polite because I really don't know what he's like. I go to shake his hand. He goes, "What the hell is that?" And I get this big hug. What surprised me the most is you're taller than I am. And I'm like, for some reason, I always pegged you at like 5'9", maybe 5'10". I don't know why. Honest to God, I don't know why. And I walk in, and I have to look up. I'm like, what's the first thing I do? I look down to see what kind of shoes are you wearing. Are you wearing anything with a fucking high heel or what? No. Standard tennis shoes. Fuck. I'm like, okay, fine. He's taller than I am. But it's just, it struck me really funny for some reason.
Is that because I'm like a chihuahua and I'm like noisy?
I don't know where it came from.
Little guys talk more.
I don't know where it came from. It's just, I expected you to be my height or a little bit shorter. And okay. But that was...
Well, I'll tell you look, I tell you, that was a lovely day.
It was awesome.
Really wonderful to spend some time with you, with Kevin.
Yeah.
Obviously with James, but like you and Kevin, I've been wanting to meet you guys for a very long time, and it was really wonderful to.
It was, and
to have some downtime and have good conversation.
And it was. We were able to sit and have lively discussion, which surprised me. And I'll tell you, quite honestly, I was at first worried because of some of the conversation that you and David Gorlitz were getting into. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this might get heated really quick. But it didn't.
Well,
David
was trying to get into the conversation, but,
Yeah, it's just, but it was refreshing to sit with other adults and talk about things that mattered and be able to agree and disagree without any fuck yous and you're an asshole and any of that. You're right. It was a very refreshing afternoon.
Well, look, we deal with a lot of things in this modern life as adults. And while I do go off book sometimes, I do strive to keep on topic, on point, on mission.
Yep.
It's a huge thing that we have in front of us. It really, truly is monumental. And I related earlier that, we do have a Jonas Salk moment. I mean, like, we could cure tobacco-related death and illnesses.
And that brings me full circle to asking you, for people either that don't know or that haven't read anything about it, your latest with vape tithing has spawned some amazing things going on. And the biggest one that you've come up with and been able to produce, and I said it earlier in a chat, and I will say it literally, you have been able to create things out of thin air. You said it's like looking at things and plugging holes, and I'm like, dude, you're plugging holes with literal magic to be able to help people where previous to that there was nothing. That's astounding. And what I am talking about is vape tithing having gotten together with Naked 100, and they now have the capability to help state associations pay dues for the VTA, their annual membership, and they're doing that so that the VTA can then turn around and help the state associations with their, oh Lord, my brain just took a fart, with their lobbyist fees. Correct?
So here's, let's go back a year, because it was a year ago. We're now in November. So you'd ask about how Gonzo Gibbs came about. In April of 2017, I realized that, we're kind of kicked in the gut in California. I've got to be able to do something federally. And when I say federally, what I really mean is in other states. Got to get the word out that, we don't want California to happen in Kentucky or Georgia or Florida or Ohio or you name it. Got to get the word out. So that conversation with we in September. Sorry, I had to.
You love your mute button.
Absolutely. We dove right into the issues that our state groups were facing: underfunding, underrepresentation, under support. And come end of November, when we initially were going to launch Vapesgiving, just the week prior to Thanksgiving, the season of giving, and I was contacted by some attorneys. Fig, you're about to get sued by Connecticut, New York, and California for illegal fundraising. And the amount of money that you're talking about raising,
You're kidding.
You're going to raise some eyebrows. They're going to come after you. I spent a week, and I'm not even going to disclose how much money on attorney's fees. Trying to figure out how to fucking do Vapesgiving. Short story, longer story. We opted to do Vapesgiving ourselves and not even have any of the state groups involved. Thank goodness Greg Connolly with AVA had some headroom on his fundraising that we were able to have him accept donations. Something like $157,000 went through his PayPal account. We raised $332,000 for Vapesgiving. Now, here's where I'm going with this. Through this very heart-wrenching and emotional time of dealing with attorneys and getting this done, I was also having very direct and hardcore conversation with many of the leaders of the state groups. More than half of our affiliates were telling me, like, oh my God, please figure this out because we don't have money to pay our lobbyists. We don't have money to pay our membership dues. That was very encouraging for us to keep going. And we did, obviously. We kept going, and we got it done. Raised, more money in a single fundraiser in our history. And we did it 1 week. After which, in January, follow-up conversations ensued. And again, more than half of our group said we were actually going to fold.
Wow.
We're going to fold. And so we've been intimately aware of the financial situation with our affiliates for quite a while. And seeing that, yes, some of our groups, in comes a member, but then out goes a member.
Right.
We have a lot of companies going out of business. When sales falter, we stop paying our membership dues.
Yeah, you got to trim where you can, and that's usually one that goes right off the top.
So attrition happens. So when we went to DC, DC and was it June? We've been in talks with SFATA, we've been in talks with VTA, we're in talks with a lot of folks. We were acquainted with some of the plans of VTA. We knew that they were going to launch a lobbyist assistance fund for their members. Well, since we're so intimately connected to many of the VTA state groups, we were aware that a lot of them simply would not have the money to pay their dues.
Agreed.
And so, I'll give you a very basic poor person analogy here. You can get hired for the world's best job, but if you don't have money to put gas in your tank to go to that job or to buy a tie,
doesn't matter.
So we had already, there were several other of our affiliates that we had helped throughout the year. And we took a very direct approach this time. Rather than waiting until December for Vapesgiving, we took a hardline approach with what is needed now. Well, VTA is about to announce this 50-state defense fund strategy program.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is they are providing assistance up to, I think it's 65% of the lobbyist fees. But you got to be a member to qualify. Well, we have 19 of our affiliates are VTA state groups.
Wow.
19. And so
there's a problem right there.
So we looked at that and said, we know the ones that are in trouble. We know the ones that aren't able to pay their dues. We have a couple that we know that we're going to have problems in their states this year. Give an example, Colorado. We've seen for a while that 2018, 2019 would be an issue. We needed a state group there. We've been talking to a group of folks to form a group, and they did. We now have Rocky Mountain Smoke Free Alliance. Well, they're new. They don't have their fundraising chops yet. So we voted for and opted to help them get situated. We paid their VTA membership dues, and now VTA will be working with them to help provide a lobbyist for the state of Colorado.
Wow.
And so, it's a little bit long-winded, and I apologize for the length there.
No, that's exactly what people need to hear.
Yeah.
Where did this come from and why?
So, the conversations that we and I have, they're very logistic in nature. There's no feelings attached. It's like, where do we have issues? How do we support our shops? And the way we look at it is from the shop up. And really, with vape tithing, we have a hierarchy. It goes like this: the smoker, the vapor, the shop. Those are the three most important entities in our world. Now, how do we support those folks? We support those folks by supporting their state group.
Because the state group is the one that is going to come in and help with taxation, with flavor bans, right. So it becomes a trickle-down effect at that point. And it's not the old-fashioned trickle-down in economics. It's actually what works, folks. You support the state group, and they actually take care of the members that are in that group.
Well, and we're putting trust in our shops that they will hold their state group accountable. We're putting trust in the state group that they'll hold their national group accountable. You know, we're not trying to become legislative know-it-alls. You know, we're not going to keep track of all the bills. You know, we just want to support where we do business. Period.
That's one of the smartest things. You know, if you're not taking care of people that are doing business with you and they're not taking care of you, things fall apart really, really damn quick.
Well, and at the same time, we're hoping that, you know, that we're able to influence others to participate financially as well.
Yeah, I'm living proof of that. Truly, you started doing what you're doing, and I said I want to do that, and we do. Do we come up with massive amounts of money? No, but everywhere that I go, you know, Two Stone Vaping is doing sales. We're putting money back into state advocacy. And
hey,
if they
look,
don't,
Alabama, I've written checks for $19.
the first couple that I sent out were that just small, small things.
What if there's 100, you know, folks sending a $19 check to Alabama?
But it's the fact that you are taking part of what you do and investing in what they do. Then there are not a lot of manufacturers out there that are doing it. Like none, or very, very few. I'll say very few. I won't say none. And that like you, it just irritates me. You know, I'm like you. I'm a very small company, extremely small. And we pay our cutbacker fees, and we take percentage of what we do and put back into and invest in what we believe in. And if I can manage to do that, where the hell are the other multi-million-dollar companies? You know, where are the people that are driving the whatever sports car? Well, that's right. They're on vacation with their money, having a vape.
Yeah, I tell you, I think where a lot of those guys are, I think a lot of those guys are hurting, and I think they're embarrassed. I think you can take a company that was doing $20 million in 2015. They were living high in the hog. They bought their BMW 7 Series. They bought their boat with their twin Japanese engines. And, well, then 2016 happened.
Yeah.
And their $20 million company became 15. And then in 2017, they're only doing 10 million, but they still have the lifestyle of 2015.
Yeah.
And so one of the trappings of that luxurious lifestyle is when you get to the point that you really don't have two nickels to rub together. No, so I didn't say pennies, I said nickels. You know, I've seen it multiple times. I saw it with Vapes Giving. One of the companies that donated only a couple $1,000, that $2,000 is actually a lot to them. And the guy called me up. He's like, you know, Fig, I'm in this situation where we're really pretty broke. I know it doesn't look like it. So I'm going to pay a donation out of my personal account because I don't want to embarrass my company.
Now, ironically, I did the same thing because the company could not afford. So I took money out of my own pocket to do that. But it was important to me. You know, granted, I couldn't give much of anything, but still, it's my understanding, a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, you start adding up all these little bits, and it makes a hell of a difference.
And there's the key, in my opinion. Like, you know, I appreciated that, you know, this man connected with me personally and said, hey, you know, my company's not doing what people think it's doing. that's fine. Guess what? That's the same boat as everybody. Vaping is down. People don't realize this, but vaping is down, I believe, 30% across the board, at least.
Really?
The negative campaigns have really taken a toll. I know of only a couple of companies that are actually up.
Wow.
Now, and when I say of only a couple of companies that are actually up, I'm talking about the companies that have been around since before 2016. You know, the companies that have come on the scene since 2016, yeah, they're up because they're brand new. You know,
They're up because they're also, yeah, we won't get
brand
into that. Yeah.
And really, like, I try to, as that goes, I try to walk a fine line, because I do think that we need new companies. I know that, you know, it's tough because I'm a pre-808 company. I'm early 2013. And yeah, it does suck to see like a company that came on the scene 3 months ago killing it. But I'm still about tobacco harm reduction. And I know that the vast majority of vapors need to have variety to stay in touch. And I try to, you know, put things into a compartment that says, well, what if FDA didn't do the deeming regs?
I think that we'd actually be in a hell of a lot of problem if they didn't. But we're facing the other end of the yardstick, because they've come up with deeming regulations, and there are people and companies that are playing by the rules. And then you've got all these people that came in after the predicate date, and they're not playing by the rules. They're playing fast and loose to make money. And we all know it. You know, there's a shit ton of products on the market right now that have absolutely no way in hell that they should be there, according to the FDA and the 8.8. It blows my mind sometimes.
Well, when we talk about the FDA, though, that only matters if they're going to enforce.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. They're talking about, and I hear all these words and I hear all this language. I will be curious to see what they're going to do.
Until they enforce, though, it's just hot air.
Yep, it is. Speaking of hot air, because of...
You are talking to me. And I am noise, according to, you know, at least 100 people.
Do you catch a lot of shit for what you do with vape tithing?
Do I catch a lot of shit? You know...
I know the answer, but I want other people to hear it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what people need to understand. We don't have until 2022.
Nope.
And, you know, I'll get it nice and close. If you're a shop owner, or if you are a co-packed liquid manufacturer especially, know this. You have until November 8th of 2019 to be in business.
Now, why is that?
Health documents.
And
Health documents are due November 8th, 2019. And if you're talking to any manufacturer or distributor, especially a distributor that has 20, 30, 40, 50 brands under their tutelage, and they are only talking to you about cells,
I agree.
Uh,
Everybody gets stuck on talking about two dates. The predicate date, 8/8/16, and the date that the PMTAs at this point are due, which is 8/8/2022. And everybody, most people forget next year, November.
well, here's why. The majority of people they're only talking to their sales reps.
True.
What's moving in my shop? I've got rent due. Guess what? When November 8th of 2019 happens, and there is little evidence that there will be an extension. The extensions that we have gotten have only been because of extraneous reasons. You said earlier about extensions. You've talked about it in your shows. You've talked about it on your Facebook. The likely reason that we got extended to 2022 with the PMTA is because FDA has plans for other products.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Those products are on the market now.
Yep.
IQOS is on the market.
And as well as I do that they're going to go ahead and approve it. They won't approve the reduced
Views
harm.
is on the market. Mark 10 is on the market. All these other products are on the market right now. Like I tell you, like I went up to ECC back in August. I had meetings the night before. Wasn't planning on going to the actual expo, but then I got talked into giving a talk. Well, while I was there, there was a lot of suits, a lot of $3,000 to $5,000 suits at ECC.
Really?
Now, I'm not going to call anybody's names out, but there are quite a few manufacturers walking into back rooms with these suits. So one of the things that's happening is the tobacco companies are talking to the prominent manufacturers.
Hi, let me write you a check.
For your recipes.
And damn well.
Add that for your recipes. Add that.
Jesus.
So you ask if I get flack.
Yeah. I think that's an understatement.
Here's the thing. Like I'll say things like this. Like, you want to know who's got your back? Look and see who is a member of VTA. Look and see who is a member of your state group.
Those are the people that give a shit.
And then look and see how many countries they're in, how many states they're in. If there's a company that is in 50 states and they haven't donated to your state group, they don't give a fuck about you.
True. 100% true.
If there's a company that's in 50 states and they're not a member of VTA, they don't give a fuck about you. They are looking to get bought up by tobacco.
There have been some that have already sold, and they've been public, and I know that there have got to be a decent amount that have been sold and have not been made public, simply because of the backlash that they would get.
There are a handful of companies that are widely and wildly promoted as being the epitome of responsible companies that have already sold to big tobacco privately.
And people don't know. The vaping industry would probably go up in flames about that if they found out. You don't think?
No. And here's why. Because most of the vaping industry is jealous, and most of them would sell their firstborn to get bought by big tobacco.
True.
They would look at these companies, and this is why I don't share their names. They would look at these companies and say, "Good on you. How'd you do that?"
Yeah, because they would want to do the same thing. Yeah. How do I approach this checkbook, and how do I get that magic pen to write me one?
And and look, I'm not faulting them. I'm glad that their recipes will live on.
To a point.
At the same time, where I get twisted is when these people look at me and call me brother.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Don't call me brother unless you're paying into the fight.
Yeah, and you can't put into the fight if you've already sold out.
So yeah, there are people who don't like me, Mike.
I can see that. I'm not going to say I understand why, but I understand how it's happening. And that's very unfortunate. That's seriously unfortunate.
So, to lighten it up a little bit, though, here's the thing. I still believe that we have a fighting chance. Here's the thing. FDA still has to prove their case. The states still have to prove their case.
There are some technicalities that are alive.
And there's such a massive overreach.
Yeah. Yeah, the lawsuits are going to continue.
It's kind of like if you look at like law enforcement, what's the old saying? Like a criminal can be lucky all their life and get away with so many things, but law enforcement only has to be lucky once. Well, we have to be lucky once.
Right.
We were lucky once with Satara. I refuse to give up.
No, I'm not going to give up.
It's
to hell with that. I'm not going to turn around and go, oh, I'm going to roll over and play dead. Bullshit.
It's too important.
Massively. Massively too important. When my mother, who is 75 now, 11 months ago, she had watched as we started our company and got out there and we were doing our thing. And she had started smoking, I know, in her 20s when she went to nursing school, way the hell back when. So you're talking 40 plus years of smoking. And finally I convinced her to try a vapor product. And I got her to understand how it works, what is it, here's what's in it. And she stopped smoking and only vaped. And her words to me were, I wish I would have done this sooner because I don't wheeze anymore. I'm not short of breath going up the steps. My food tastes better. Now, she was 74 when she did this. She just turned 75. So that is amazing. And for the government to take that away, bullshit.
Amen.
Well, Fig, I tell you what, we've been at it now. It's 2:15 already. We've been at it for a little bit of time. Anything that you want to say in wrapping up before I close this out for the evening?
Look, just, man, this thing that we do is very special. And, when we look at our lives, how often is it that any single human has the opportunity to stand up for something that is so incredibly important? We literally have the opportunity to be a part of history in a massively positive way. When we say vaping saved my life. Now, I prefer to say vaping is extending my life and that it will save my son's life, because my son, if we are successful in protecting it, then he'll have an opportunity to have an option that is not smoking.
That is not using a combustible product that will kill you.
Absolutely. So let's, whether it's $1 or $10 or $10,000 or $10 million, let's understand that the fact is we do live in America and we do have to pay into the system to protect what we care about. So join your state group. If you are inclined and you can afford it, participate at a national level as well. But most importantly, get in, roll your sleeves up and be a part of the solution and not be a part of the problem. That's really all I have to say.
And that's very well said. If you're not part of a solution, you're part of a problem. Wholeheartedly true. Fig, I seriously am appreciative of you taking the time this evening to sit and bullshit with me for a while. This has been awesome. I've been wanting to do this now for months. And finally, we got the chance. And you said record it. I'm like, yep, here, hold on. I'll do that.
Well, I'm sorry that we missed that first 10 minutes because, man, you were on fire.
I'll probably go back and do a little bit of voiceover or something, but I'm not worried. We got an awful lot of some very fantastic information that people are going to need to listen to, even if they don't watch the video. Listen to it on the Smoke Free Radio Network. It'll be on a podcast. Awesome material. Ladies and gentlemen, Fig Ramsey, Vape Tithing. Look it up online. Look it up on Facebook. Look it up online. Get to know it. Get to love it. Support it and spread the word. Again, Fig Ramsey out of California. Fig, thank you.
And Mike, thank you so much, and thank you to your listeners. I appreciate you and your time.
Awesome.
And all that you do. You're pretty fantastic yourself.
Not me, man. That's why my other show is just called Vaping and a Mic, because that's it. I vape a lot, and I got this thing. All right, I'll talk to you again soon.
Have a great night.
Yep, you too.